All of Cabrera's wildlife depends to a smaller or larger extent on the clean Mediterranean waters which bathe the islets. Scarcely 20% of the national park is composed of land because the greatest biological wealth is found in the 8,703 hectares which spread out under the surface, the door to a silent world indifferent to human progress. The Cabrera ocean beds have tropical traits. The absolute cleanness of its waters, free from continental clay and mud, produces a luminosity which allows for the existence of submarine vegetation at greater depths, and therefore of the animals which live among the algae. In the area close to the surface, the light is very intense because the column of water barely filters the sun's rays. The shoals cause the water to be heavily oxygenated, and the oxygen and light enable the proliferation of plankton, algae, and consequently the different species of fish, particularly herbivores. Salpa are frequent in this area of shoals where they find the abundant green algae which are the basis of their diet, to the point where their meat, when caught, gives off a strong odor of these vegetables. Salpa always swim in groups, wandering over the rocks as they feed incessantly on algae, similar to the herbivorous herds on vast grasslands. In this first intensely lit submarine stratum, plants are able to carry out their photosynthetic function to the point where not only green algae live in the submarine stratum. There is also a phanerogram which colonizes the sandy layer from the beaches to some 45 meters deep, the Posidonia. The Posidonia prairies are an indication of the quality and purity of the waters. They play a very important role in the submarine ecosystem because they set the sandy floors, thereby preventing erosion, produce a great deal of oxygen, and are one of the basic pillars of the marine feeding chain. More than 60 species live epiphytically on their leaves, and they are the hiding places for an infinite number of invertebrates. The relief of Cabrera's ocean bed is very diverse due to the geological changes which have taken place over time. The same changes that were responsible for the relief of the islands gave the beds an uneven topology, and the area's currents and luminosity combine with this to offer a diversity of biotopes greater than that of any other point on the Spanish Mediterranean. The algae are distributed in layers within the water column. At greater depths there is less penetration of sunlight, and the chlorophyllc pigments the kind green algae have lose their functionality. Thus the green algae occupy the first layer, and the red algae or rhodophytes take over, armed with phycoerythrin, a red pigment specializing in capturing the little sunlight which reaches such depths. Despite the abundance and variety of algae, the appearance of the plant life on Cabrera's rocky beds is due more to the colonies of some small animals than to the algae themselves. The gorgonians covering the ocean bed bring to mind a miniature forest. They are colonies of small polyps encrusted on a tissue sustained by a branched central skeleton of calcium carbonate. It is this branching which gives them an arborescent appearance reminiscent of a plant. The gorgonian and coral colonies are quite numerous on the park's floor. The majority of the species prefer to settle in dark places, even in caves. They affix themselves to the rocky walls at depths of between 15 and 100 meters, where the polyps, armed with 8 tentacles, generally open in a perpendicular position to the most frequent direction of the water's movement, so as to capture the greatest number of microorganisms on which they feed. The yellow gorgonian and the purplish gorgonian are two of the most common species. The polyps of both feed by opening their tentacles to the current, although unlike the red ones, the yellow gorgonian polyps are unable to conceal themselves behind a skeleton of spicules and remain permanently visible.